On this week's show, we're discussing, is PSVR2 making a comeback? What's going on at Bungee? And is Ubisoft about to launch a cloud gaming service? All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. Joining me this week is Mr. Rob. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm good. A lot of people are going to be thinking, who the hell is this guy? But, you know, I'm happy to be back.
He's making a comeback.
Filling in for Chris, who was enjoying his holidays at the moment.
Yes, Chris is currently on holiday as of recording, celebrating his 5th anniversary. So congratulations, Chris, and the woman who has to put up with him.
Stimp.
But before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all of our fantastic content here at GamerGuildTV, such as our weekly live streams. Every Thursday we bring you something where recently I have been playing Zelda. I've been making some movement on Zelda, Rob. In the last month or two, I've got a couple of episodes out and we're getting close to the end game.
So it's only taken you how long?
Oh, about a year.
Yeah, just about, it's a casual year.
I'm sure I've said in this show before, what I'm using the Zelda stream is, because that is a game I know so well, I can just drop in and drop out with months in between, where most other games I don't like to do that. It's my break glass in case of emergency game, so if there's nothing specific I want to showcase coming out, and both me and Chris is not available, so we're not playing something multiplayer, I just go for Zelda to fill in the gap.
Just off the Zelda playthrough.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end. It's going well.
Have you been? Can you estimate that?
We're currently on 7. I reckon there's at least another 2, maybe 3.
Oh, and then the panic will set in. It's like, what do I do now? Is the emergency game?
I could just go to Zelda and play Majora's Mask. I don't know.
Just keep tapping that well.
Yeah, don't tell me. I've got the whole of the Nintendo Switch Online that I have access to, so
nice.
Because I've got the expansion pass as well. So these things like Turok have come recently, so there's all sorts of stuff I could just showcase as one-offs through there. Have you been playing anything interesting, Rob?
I've been so for longer term listeners who are still kind of remember me back when from when I was on regularly. You'll know that I went away to focus on a couple of areas of my life which needed time. So for that, I've only actually been playing one game, and that one game has been the Total Warhammer series. Total Warhammer series. It's just a really good game. I don't know if people are familiar with the setup, but there's been number 1, number 2, and now number 3. And essentially each of the games, they updated the mechanics a little bit, but essentially just they added an extra map area from the world of Warhammer. And the main game type now is just all of those mashed together as one massive landmass. So I've been really enjoying that. Been helping the Empire purge the world of chaos and
So is it 40k Warhammer, not
no,
original?
It's fantasy. So,
okay.
So it's in a bit of a weird state. Again, I'm going. I don't know if anybody else has this, but do you get sucked into random lore channels on YouTube for 100%. Franchises you don't particularly interact with anymore?
Yeah.
So Warhammer's done that for me. I listen to loads of Warhammer videos when I'm working. No intention of actually playing the tabletop or buying any more miniatures. But the Warhammer Fantasy as a product does not exist anymore, because Games Workshop just destroyed it because it wasn't selling any products.
So they just stopped it. They just discontinued it.
So they rebooted it into this thing called Age of Sigmar. People who do not like Warhammer are going to be so switched off by this conversation, by the way. So the actual Total War game is the only place where Warhammer Fantasy exists now. So it's that's the world of fantasy Warhammer now.
All right, so they've kind of consolidated it.
Yeah, basically, and it's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm helping the Empire root out undead and chaos forces.
Does Games Workshop still exist? I don't think I've seen one in like a decade.
I think they're closing a lot of shops because shops don't do well now.
Yeah. Because I always thought Warhammer was one of them things. It's really, really cool, but as a kid, like the idea of getting the figurines, painting and building up your army, then battling with your friends, amazing. But as a kid, you didn't have £500 million to spend on figurines and paint.
Yeah,
so it's just completely impractical.
The irony is, like, when you're a kid or a teenager, you don't have the money to buy like all the miniatures, which are insanely expensive.
Yeah.
But then as an adult, when you might have the money, you don't have the time to spend like 10 hours painting them to an acceptable standard or whatever. Yeah. So it sucks. Like, that knife cuts both ways for Warhammer.
You could spend like the best part of an afternoon painting one figure, but to get it really good. But then it's like, but there's so much other stuff I need to do in that afternoon.
Yeah, it's like the kitchen's a mess. I have to clean the kitchen. It's like
I spent a decent part of my day yesterday painting my girlfriend's fence.
Yeah,
there's 3 hours.
Yeah, like you're doing like the Tom Sawyer thing, and you have like paint the fence and shit. You don't have time to do miniatures, right?
Yeah, because the fence needed painting.
Yeah,
and I said I'd help her out.
Yeah, and you can't save the galaxy or the world from evil forces now. So
I'm not gonna lie. After that, I did play Uncharted 4 for about 8 to 9 hours.
So you got a really good playthrough of Uncharted. And you also painted a fence, so by the laws of TV, that means you know karate now. So
100%. But yeah, that's totally true. But it's just one of them. She was playing Assassin's Creed 3, which is I'm going to have a little bit of a rant about it because I've been watching her play. Do not buy the remaster of Uncharted of Assassin's Creed 3. Save your money. It's not worth your time. It is a broken mess.
It's a shame because I love the story of number 3.
Oh, that's like that's what my girlfriend has said. She said she's loved the story, but she's been trying to get the platinum. But some of the stuff you have to do is just not fun. You have to walk around your village scanning people. And to scan it, you just go on Eagle Vision and pull on your bow. But you have to wait for them to do specific actions. But it's not they're not timed on it. It's not like they're going through a specific day-night cycle or something where they do different actions at different part of the day. It's random what they do.
This is playtime for the sake of playtime, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not fun. There's nothing fun about what she was having to do. And then there's just so much crap in that game. Then sometimes the mechanics just don't work. I saw she was just earlier this morning. She was actually just running down. She was doing a mission, trying to get 100% sync. She had some dude on the back of a horse that she's trying to escape from the redcoats with. She's walking down the road. The horse hit a tiny, tiny little rock on the road. He falls off and desyncs. Yeah. It's so broken. If you do want to play, do not go for the platinum. It really isn't a waste of your time. Yeah.
I mean, I remember that the original version of that game got like some flack when it first came out as well for like poor performance. I don't know if this just is like I didn't recognize it because I was like younger and you typically don't. But I loved the original number 3.
I enjoyed it. I played it on PC and it was a bit buggy in places, but because I had no interest in trophies or completionism at that time, I just played through the story and went, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And then moved on. But if you want to go for like any sort of trophy hunt in that game, it really just isn't worth it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
And what makes it worse is it's a remaster. There's no fucking excuse for broken gameplay. In my opinion, a remaster, you should be fixing the gameplay. Stuff like when you have to scan your villages, that's something they could have reworked for the remaster to lock them to a day-night cycle. So the miner at 9 o'clock in the morning goes to the mine. Like, at lunchtime, he goes back to his cabin, that kind of stuff. But they didn't.
I mean, what's that remaster retailing for? Is it?
I don't know. That's the top of my head. But free remaster. On Steam, it's $40.
$40 for like,
and it came out in 2019, so that makes my comments even worse because I've had 5 years to fix what should have been not broken anyway.
Yeah, not great, is it?
Yeah,
hey, that's
I'm not.
Ubisoft.
I'm angry, and I'm not even the one playing it.
Like, we'll get into it later,
Yeah, we'll
but
get
like,
into
that's
it
like
later, yeah.
that could be a tagline for Ubisoft. It's not great, is it? Like,
yeah, but I mean, both of them, that Uncharted 4 is an amazing game.
it holds up so well.
Yeah,
too. I jump back into it every now and again.
It's a bit buggy. Because I've been replaying through all the Uncharted games. The buggier than I remember.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't perform quite as well. Nathan can be a bit of a twat at times. Like he'll hide in the wrong bit of the cover and get shot and stuff.
I'll just jump off a cliff.
It's not as seamless and as highly polished as I remember them being.
Yeah.
Even full. But the games are so bloody good. You can overlook a little bit of jankiness here and there.
Yeah, I think for me, it's how they leveled up like some of the transitions you did between cutscene and gameplay in number 4. Like, do you like where you're trying to infiltrate the auction and like he kind of falls through the window and then he's like into the next action scene?
Yeah.
That was beautifully done. That.
Yeah, it was. There's no cut in it. It's just seamless.
And like you kind of run up to the table and like he's like just knocks it on its side and okay, you're in cover now and this is the game.
The only real cuts in that game, when I think of it, it's not like God of War level with no cuts, but it's like when you're transitioning from one major area to another, like, oh, I'm in Madagascar, now I'm out on the sea. You don't need to see him getting on the boat and sailing off like that. It's stuff like that. There's a few where it will cut to give like a bigger wide panorama shot or something, which totally get for establishing, but it's so good.
I think it was an Uncharted 4 which had the first use of the kind of squeezing through something for transit, like for a loading screen.
No, I think like Uncharted 1 had that.
Did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was the Uncharted series, wasn't it, I think?
It might be. I'm not quite sure. Chris would probably know that, but Uncharted 1, because I've platinumed that recently, does have them, you squeeze through things, and it's like, you feel, oh, can you go faster? It's like, actually, this is a hidden loading scene.
Yeah.
Which it does kind of like smooth out the game a lot. There's no, okay, level done, back to the menu to load the next level.
Yeah, yeah.
It does feel like a continuous playthrough. But yeah, I'm chipping away at the platinum. Currently about fair way through on my crushing difficulty one. Then I've got to speed run the whole game in 6 hours.
6 hours?
6 hours. I think it's doable, but it's going to be rough. Yeah. But I think that's enough of that, unless there's been anything interesting you've been playing as well.
No, not really. I mean, we'll talk about bits and pieces of like how my gaming habits are like swap from games as we go through the show.
Yeah.
But no, it's mainly just been that one game, which is a nice little. If I have a spare hour, which isn't a given a lot of weeks, like it's just an easy game to jump into. Turn-based, so
it's when you're incredibly busy at work, you just want something easy, casual, something you can just jump in straight away, no stress.
It's a game that I can like, even on like the hardest, because I've played it for like the actual games for decades now.
Yeah,
it's a game I can cheese so easily if I want to. Like nothing's a particular challenge, which sometimes is okay. You just want like the little achievement sense or whatever.
It's comfort food.
Yeah, exactly that.
With that, Rob, would you like to introduce us to the graciously gathered Gaming Guild Gazette, aka the news. The news. And as always, our news is brought to you by our guild heroes, which you can join over on the YouTube channel for as little as 99p, gaining early access to this show. And sometimes we put extra additional content out there. We never lock everything behind the paywall forever, so anything that is available for members only, which I'm not sure there is at the moment. I know Chris was putting up his Warhammer 40k Space Marine stream, early access for members, but then it was like coming for non-members a week later. So yeah, as little as 99p, and thank you very much for all your support. It keeps the lights on and keeps us going. Ubisoft, Rob. They are launching a cloud gaming service. Are you surprised at all by this?
No, I'm not surprised. It kind of goes into like what Ubisoft are trying to do, like just to create like it's like the Futurama, or we'll make our own thing with like blackjack and hookers type of business model for Ubisoft, right? It's always a case of, oh well, they can't really like, are they a gaming publishing company? Oh, now we're going to get into cloud streaming. Now we're going to do kind of our own subscription service. It just seems like Ubisoft very much like to be distinct and separate from the way other publishers work, are kind of bringing their own, like their titles to other platforms and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm well known on this show to bemoan sometimes the quality of Ubisoft games. As I've already had a rant this episode about an Assassin's Creed 3 remaster. But one thing I've always praised them for is they are the biggest publisher that is 100% seeming in on cloud gaming. They support Stadia, they support Luna, they support GeForce Now, they support probably things like, without checking this, feel free to let me know in the comments, things like Boosteroid. They have been 100% since cloud gaming really kind of had this generation starting with Stadia of cloud gaming. They've supported that all the way through. And I don't think any other major publisher has done that. Not even, maybe you can argue with Xbox with their own thing, but as a third-party publisher, Ubisoft being 100% in.
Yeah, it seems like their entire strategy for getting people into their games is like, these games are available in the maximum amount of locations and platforms and ways of playing as possible. And like, no matter what you own or don't own in the case of cloud gaming, you will have a way to play these Ubisoft games, and that's good, right?
Yeah, 100%. So what I'm going to shout them out now because I'm reading from a Jack the Slip article over on clouddosage.com, our friends over there. So go check out his write-up. He goes into a bit more depth than we probably will here. I'm just going to try and keep this surface level. But Jack does great work over there, Cloud Dosage, as does all the team. So reading from his article, so Ubisoft is calling its current offering a technical preview is using AWS servers under the hood with A10 GPUs. Luna itself has started to use these GPUs in some games. There is no Luna branding in sight though, and the offering doesn't appear to support the Luna controller. So there was a point where I was 100% convinced that Ubisoft would launch their own cloud gaming service and they'd use Google's servers. Because there was a point where Google, when they were closing down Stadia, seemed to be going white label, and it seemed to be a perfect fit that Ubisoft would utilize the white label Stadia technology to launch their own cloud gaming service. That doesn't seem to be the case, because they seem to have went the Amazon route instead.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So I kind of work relatively closely with like Google products as part of my like day-to-day work, and my impression of Google as a whole entity at the moment is they're a complete mess in terms of they're making lots of bad decisions around their advertising products, which I consume, and I think it's spreading to like lots of different parts of the business. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe like that deal was on the table and they've somehow fumbled it, or by some bad decision decided it's not for Google.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I can't remember if it's set for certain, but I think the white label stuff was Google. I think they kind of like quietly announced that at Google I/O as Stadia was still going. And I remember covering it on Sound to Stadia. It's like, that seems weird. You're selling off your hardware when you've got your own platform you should be putting money into.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they may have discontinued when they shut down Stadia. I think they might have discontinued the white label service, because there was talk of things like them teaming up with things like Peloton and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it might be in the case of Ubisoft are looking at it and go, you know what, white label Stadia technology, that is perfect for our needs. Then Google pull the rug out on them. Oh, we're shutting down our entire cloud gaming thing, because they seem to have refocused into mobile. Because it's more profitable, which is a shame. I think is a shame. I have nothing actually against mobile games. I'm just not interested in them.
Yeah, and it's not particularly like an innovative area, is it?
It's safe. It's safe, and it feels like one of them. It's the decision made to appease shareholders rather than having a vision of what your company should be doing going forward. With Stadia, seemed like a visionary technology that ultimately they couldn't figure out a way to get it going. Mm-hmm. Taking all that and putting it into mobile gaming seems just like something like would appease the shareholders, because it's safer investment.
Yeah, it's very much like a public company.
Yeah,
player. But hey, it's a shame.
It is a shame, but
Yeah, but from all reports, it seems like Ubisoft's offering is like it's at least on par with what we're seeing across other platforms, right?
Yeah, I've not actually been hands-on with it myself. My understanding is performs equivalent to Luna or Xbox Cloud Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Again, going back to Jack's write-up, but not quite as good as like the top tiers of GeForce Now. But there again, GeForce Now, the ultimate tier, is kind of the king of cloud gaming at the moment. I don't think anyone actually comes close. Most other services are capping at 1080p. Like 1080p, if you're lucky, getting up to 60 frames per second. GeForce Now goes way beyond that. But it looks like, with Luna being quite quiet, maybe, and Ubisoft supporting Luna as much as they did Stadia, it looks like, well, if Stadia's Google not doing it, we'll go with Amazon. Yeah,
and who could blame them, right?
Yeah.
It's a safe pair of hands. They've got like the actual product up and running already.
Yeah, as it stands, there is only one game that's available, and that's Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. But it is like, it's a first step, and I don't think it's a bad one. What are you kind of
like Ubisoft always had like a bit of a. My only question with stuff like this is like, is it taking focus away from, focus and resources away from like kind of pushing the gaming boundaries further? Maybe yes, maybe no.
I guess it isn't taking that much in terms of their resources, because I think Amazon is basically doing the heavy lifting with the development of the platform. And they're already porting their games to Luna. So effectively, it's already running on the same hardware anyway. It's a few probably software tweaks to remove like Luna branding and stuff.
And potentially.
Ubisoft already have their own PC client in Kinect, which is where you access this from. So it's PC only at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually expect that would change if it gets a full launch. I don't think you'll be able to use Ubisoft's cloud gaming via PlayStation or Xbox.
I don't think it would make much sense. Like most people have access to the Ubisoft catalog through another subscription or something, right?
Yeah, and they might already be available on PlayStation Plus Cloud and Xbox Cloud Gaming.
Yeah, I can't rightly remember.
So this is kind of filling in that gap for PC, where you can, instead of having to go over to Luna, you can just open up Ubisoft Connect, buy the games from their library, and play straight away.
Yeah, it's an interesting development. We'll have to see how much pickup it gets.
I can't imagine it being massive, because I think if you're truly into cloud gaming through the PC, you go on GeForce Now.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
I don't like some of the things they do with like, there's no guarantee that you get into a game, because there's always a potential for queue even into the higher tiers.
Yeah.
And in the lower tiers, even some of the lower paid tiers, there's still caps on playtime, which I'm just like, no, if I'm paying for a service, I want access to the service.
Yeah.
That's my only issue with GeForce Now, but it's interesting, something we'll definitely keep an eye on, and I recommend everyone goes up. You want to keep an eye on more of Cloud Gaming, head over to Cloud Dosage, because they do some awesome stuff over there. Let's keep on Ubisoft, Rob, but let's talk about Star Wars. So, some of the major gaming publishers, gaming news publishers, I should say, I've had hands-on with Star Wars Outlaws. What is your where are you at with Star Wars? Before we go into their previews, where are you at with this?
So, with Star Wars Outlaws, like, what's the best way? I'm trying to word this in a way that's fair and doesn't make me seem like a negative kind of all Star Wars
you're
equal
a negative
bad.
Nancy.
Oh, like all Star Wars equal bad because whatever type of people you see on the internet. But for me, like, the clips of gameplay I've seen and the, I guess, mechanics involved, it doesn't really excite me to the point where I'm like itching to play the game. Like the concept of, open world Star Wars, which is away from like the Jedi story, is really, really, really appealing to me. But the actual implementation and what I'm seeing from the clips just doesn't really match the potential, I don't think.
Do you feel like it's the IP's doing a bit of the heavy lifting here?
Yeah, I mean, let's say you call that right. So you take out the kind of identifiable like models from like of the game, so you don't recognize it's Star Wars. And do you just have like a third person Starfield? Yeah, right. Like it's not too far away, right? And
There's elements of it though I'd say look better than Starfield. The fact that you don't have to go through a menu to change planets.
oh yeah, stuff like that's great.
That should have been in Starfield. More so than this, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But like when you look at like the core gameplay, it just doesn't really excite me. And like obviously, like some of the previews that have came out, especially like some of the content creators who've put content out there who are like, "Oh, can I do this?" And like the clips they're like commenting over, it's like, "Oh, I'm in a ship. Can I shoot?" Yes, like wow, that's amazing.
It's paid for. It's an advertisement.
It seems, stuff. Yeah, it's either. I'm not saying it's necessarily paid for, but they've definitely chosen wisely who they've give advanced copies to. I mean, you know.
We're as a channel, we've never actually received any money from any publishers. We've received the odd like game code here and there, but we've never signed, and I don't think we ever would agree to do an advert unless we could say 100% truthfully what we say. Yeah. And that's not even for games. If Monster Energy, which I'm drinking right now, came when here Richie, here's a bag of money and he wax lyrical about this flavour of Monster Energy, I take a sip and it's fucking horrible. That's what I'm saying on the advert. Like, don't buy that one, buy the mango loco because that's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, but there's just some like there's the clips like that.
Its integrity for sale. It's not at GamerGuild.
Yeah, and there's just like an air of unbelievability where it's like some guy like he's on like a speeder bike and he rides into like a cow or something, and he falls off the speeder bike. He's like, whoa, wow, that's crazy. It's like,
you know what brings to mind? Have you seen like the YouTube videos where it's like some guy going to like playing the game, goes, I don't know why people calling this a fake game. I'm actually playing it now. And he's like, oh, I'm going to pick up the Uzi. Is like so overly excited by a game that looks shit.
Yeah, and like
it's
not
quite that hard, but
it does create like an element of distrust in my mind where it's like, I don't know. I need to wait for some longer term playthroughs to make my choice, I think.
Yeah. See, for me, I do see them sort of things, but I just completely zone it out because I know that is an advertisement beat, and like them crappy mobile games where they say, "Oh, this is not." Well, I don't know why people calling this a fake game. That's clearly a style advertisement that just doesn't work on me in the slightest. In fact, it makes me less likely to buy a game, but clearly must work on other people. I'm guessing it a younger audience. So Ubisoft have probably paid people decent, give them an early access code, give them a bag of money to do a short video where it's like, all we want you to do is be very enthusiastic. Here's a few ideas, and they'll pull something together.
Yeah, I mean, like looking through. So, like, I'll read a couple of comments out and from like the reviewers, and like I'll focus on the ones which have like really set off my bullshit detector.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's So a really balanced one is like, I can't stand Star Wars anymore. Somehow the Ubisoft open world game reminded me why I love Star Wars at all. Star Wars Outlaws is looking fantastic. Okay, yeah. Washington Post seems balanced.
Yeah.
Games Radar. We played 4 hours of Star Wars Outlaws, and the open world gives us serious Red Dead Redemption vibes. Now that is a high caliber to attach to a game. Red Dead Redemption vibes for open world.
I see where they're coming from in terms of some of the mechanics. Whether they're being implemented, again, only 4 hours. They're getting vibes. It feels like it's pointing in that direction, but I think 4 hours in an open world game isn't probably enough to assess the overall quality.
Yeah, and maybe it's because I hold Red Dead Redemption 2 in like that's a game that will that style of game will never be made again because it was too detailed. It was too much like the effort they put into that game was inhuman. So that kind of makes me a bit suspicious.
I love VGCs.
It's VGCs. Star Wars Outlaws doesn't really feel like a Ubisoft open world, and that's a good thing. See, yeah.
That's the sort of thing, like, yes, I like that, because I've been bemoaning for years that Ubisoft, they've come way too formulaic with the games.
Mm-hmm.
All Ubisoft games have a like a lot. How a lot of Bethesda games always feel the same.
Yeah.
You've got a different skin over a few different mechanics, but it feels like you're playing through the same game. I get that from Ubisoft. You can see almost the script that have to go. It must have some sort of towers which you go up to reveal the map. It's got to have loads of side quests which are crap and not interesting. It's got to have a main story throughout it. They've got these kind of beats throughout the games. It makes them all feel the same. So if Ubisoft, and I've been saying for years, when Ubisoft try to do something different, sometimes they can do some really cool, interesting stuff. They just need to break away from the production line and get back into creativity mode.
Yeah, exactly that. So, like, yeah, like the main publications I feel like are relatively balanced.
Yeah.
IGN's always like you can never trust anything IGN say, I don't think.
I think you can, but IGN is a big organisation. They have a lot of reviewers. Some reviewers you're going to agree with more than others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how you have to look at IGN. I think they do have panels where they discuss the overall score on a game in a full review, but a lot of the write-up will be one guy. And if you give an open world Star Wars game to a guy who's not a fan of Star Wars or open world, you're going to get a very different performance to a guy who loves Star Wars and loves open world.
Yeah, and when we move on to talking what individual creators have said, this is when elements of the script feel very much part of their comments. So I don't know who any of these people are, but I assume they have like good audiences and good content going out. So as a true, Star Wars Outlaws has so much Star Wars stuff to do and look at.
Fucking hope so. It's a Star Wars game.
If it doesn't, that's one thing that's ruined. Now, this feels very scripted, this next one. You can get hundreds of unique props and dozens of NPCs on screen at any time and can choose what to do. That seems like an ad read from a YouTube video.
That feels like, as I said, they'll probably give him a bag of cash. He's some pointers you have to try and work in. And that feels almost lifted from that's a statement from Ubisoft's marketing team, not a natural thing that a content creator's noticed.
Yeah, and it's the same with another comment as well. I don't even know if I should be kind of like putting names to these comments and then criticizing them the way I'm doing, but whatever.
They've put their names out there.
Yeah. So then another one was from Spawn Point. Blah, 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 blah. The upwards looks awesome and massive. Lots of fun flying around on the speeder. That's good. Like, that's very neutral. Okay. But then I felt the lighting in the dark areas were stunning and easy to see. Again, it just seems very, very weirdly specific, and I don't know if they're just talking more you lose a bit of context in these quotes. But
and that last point is so variable; it's not even necessarily down to the game designers. If the quality of your screen that you're playing on would have a massive thing, the quality of your hardware, it'll be a massive difference. The lighting will be massively different on an Xbox Series S compared to a top tier gaming PC through the same telly. That is just the reality. So that's why a lot of games have sliders for this shit.
Exactly right. So
even a console.
It feels like there was a focus group that said, "Oh, I hate how dark TV shows and games are now," and it's like,
it's because
get that comment in.
It's HDR, and if it's not set up well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but so again, I don't want to be super, super negative and almost conspiratorial here, but I need to see some long-term playthroughs before I buy at this point.
That's the same for me. Since this game came out, it has my attention, but it doesn't yet have my money.
Yeah, exactly that.
Because as I've said, I want to love Ubisoft, because some of the games they come out with should be 100% up my alley. Like, I should absolutely be incredibly excited for the next Assassin's Creed game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not. It's got my attention. Assassin's Creed Shadow has my attention, but because I didn't love Valhalla, I didn't love Odyssey, I haven't really loved an Assassin's Creed game since probably 2, 3, maybe 3. I don't.
Did you play Black Flag?
Yeah, that's not an Assassin's Creed game though. It's a pirate game. And there was stuff in that game I think was bullshit as well. I was telling my girlfriend about this, actually, side note. I spent one whole day just doing a lot of cleanup around the islands, spent most of the money and resources upgrading my house. Next day, started the quest line. Halfway through the quest line, he told me I needed to upgrade my ship. but everything in the map was already cleaned up and I didn't have the resources to do it.
Oh, that's rough.
That's
Why would you upgrade your house before you upgrade your ship? You're a pirate, for Christ's sakes.
Well, I don't know. That's just the decision I made. But there's nothing in the game that told me the next quest you'll need to upgrade this. So let me get halfway through the quest before suddenly it was no longer possible.
And in theory, you should
tell me at the start of the quest.
It's not great game design to have to upgrade your ship
in a specific way. I'd had to upgrade my ship, but not in the specific way. I think I needed to upgrade the RAM on the front of it.
Oh yeah, I remember.
But I'd upgrade my cannons and stuff.
See that? Yeah. See, my version of the Jackdaw, before I maxed out everything, was it just became like a ramming vehicle.
And that was the point where I think actually I was like, that's bullshit. I rage quit that at that point. But I think I went on holiday the next week. Okay. And then it was like 2 weeks before I got back to any gaming. And by that point, I was just moved on.
No, I very much I went back and played Black Flag a few years. Well, no, it was not a long. Jesus, how long's? Do you like Mad Max Fury Road?
That might be 10 years, you know.
Right, whatever it was, I remember I just watched that movie, and I started playing Black Flag again. And throughout my entire playthrough on as the ship was just me with the best RAM and the best speed, just saying "Witness me" as I rammed into ships.
Do you know when Mad Max Fury Road came out?
I don't know. It's going to be 10 years, isn't it?
No, not quite. 2015.
Oh, that's basically 10 years, Richie.
But yeah, I know Chris would want, if Chris was here, he'd want to get this comment in. You cannot get the Platinum and Black Flag anymore because there's online stuff and the servers are shut down.
Oh, that's a shame. You'd have to go play...
Right, to any game developer right now, if you want to put multiplayer in your game, don't associate trophies with it if it's a tag on to a single player game. Because otherwise, you'll in 10 years' time, 10, 15 years' time, we'll be sat on this podcast bitching about you.
You just have to platinum Skull and Bones instead.
Yeah.
You know?
No one wants to do that. But yeah, so I think we're in similar places with Outlaws. I know Chris is 100%. He's probably already pre-ordered it. My girlfriend's actually pre-ordered it as well. Yeah. I'm waiting for the full reviews to come out, not just the previews. Because if this comes out as a 9 out of 10, I'm buying it. If it comes out as an 8 out of 10, I don't know. Because I've also pre-ordered Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which is similar, come out at similar time.
I think from what I've learned about Starfield is I'm going to wait until do you know when someone's put a month of playtime into it? I'm going to look at those reviews because I think they'll be more telling than the first week or so.
I want this to be good. I really, really do. It's the same with all Ubisoft games and the same with Assassin's Creed Shadows. But actually, you know what I want more than this to be good? This can be a 7 out of 10 game for me. If Ubisoft get Ubisoft Plus on PlayStation, do that, I'm playing this game. Because I'll just get Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah.
Because it's a much easier financial investment to pay, what is it, 10, I think it's sub £10 a month, and I haven't checked it recently.
Yeah.
Then I get this game, and that leads me on in the Shadows, and I get access to the whole library in between. I've got it on Xbox. I could get it on Xbox, but I can't get it on PlayStation. But because I basically don't live in my own house at the moment, I never get a chance to play on my Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I have a Fire Stick. I've bought one of the new Fire Sticks where you can get Xbox Cloud Gaming on.
Oh, nice.
I've not used it.
I was going to say, we'll do that in a future episode.
Yeah, I've already talked about it on the show that I bought it, but I've just not had access to use it. I intend to take it around my girlfriend's, I just keep forgetting. Because I bought it more for her house than mine.
Yeah.
Because that gives me access to Xbox around hers.
Fair.
Right.
I honestly, I haven't touched my Xbox in a while.
Yeah.
It sounds sad, but I haven't.
Yeah, most of my gaming nowadays is on the Portal.
Fair.
Let's move on, Rob. Bungee. There's some stuff happening. Some of it's good, some of it's not good. Where do you want to start with Bungee? Do you want to start with the not good or the good?
let's start with the not good, because then we can move on to good things, because we've just had a bit of negativity there. So we'll have a bit more, but then we'll go into like the upswing.
Like basically every single video company in the video game industry right now, Bungee is restructuring and laying off people.
Yeah.
Approximately 17% of the workforce, and that's around about, for reading from Bungee's own blog, that means beginning today, 220 of our roles will be eliminated.
Very rough, like, it's very harsh language to use for firing people, isn't it?
Yeah.
They will be eliminated. It's not that they'll, like, 200 of our roles will be consolidated, or it's eliminated.
And
that's rough language.
I'm just going to start by reading someone's tweet. Someone who used to work at Bungee is like, they call Pete Parsons, the CEO of Bungee, a coward. You did this. You chose this. I'm already listed as do not work with, and I don't care anymore. You lied to my face, straight to it. You also invited me to come see your new cars 2 days before you laid me off. 2 fucking days. So executives are spending a lot of money on flash cars while they're also laying off staff.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not a great look, is it?
Jason Schreier tweets, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, Sony's Bungee is shrinking from 1,300 people to 850. Both these tweets, by the way, were out before Bungee put out their proper statement. 220 laid off, 155 moving to Sony, 75 to new studio, which is the good stuff, which we'll get into more in a bit. We were overly ambitious. Our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began to running in the red. He corrects himself and says it's closer to 40 people moving from Bungee's incubation team to new studio, not 75. But there's articles out there saying like executives have been buying expensive cars and stuff while they're also having to lay off staff. That to me is a clear sign that these executives are taking too much money out of the business.
Yeah, it's a hard one, this.
It isn't. I know where you're coming from. But if you're having to lay off people who probably have work to do, because they're not saying this is lack of work, they're having to make redundancies. They're saying this is because of financial situation.
Well,
I don't mind executives get paying a lot of money, but if they're cutting people's jobs in order to save their own arse, their own financial interests, this starts to be an ethics question for me.
It feels like mismanagement, like definitely. But if I was an executive of that company and they came to me and said, "Oh, we're not doing well, we're going to cut your pay," there'd be a fight on the hands, because they'd be like, "Nah, my rate's my rate, and like I'll spend the money how I want," type of thing. Yeah. It just seems like there's like Bungie's been on like a lot of borrowed time anyway, I feel. It just feels like they should have been smarter with the way they kind of. Like, the trouble is, like, if you hire, like, from experience, if you hire people too quickly, you ultimately, and do it recklessly, you ultimately have to get rid of those people. In the blog post,
they do, it is Pete Parsons who writes the blog post, and he does comment saying how they were overly ambitious. If I read, additionally, in 2023, our rapid expansion ran headlong into broad economic slowdown, a sharp downturn in the game industry, our quality miss with Destiny 2 Lightfall, and the need to give both the final shape and Marathon the time needed to ensure both projects deliver the quality our players expect and deserve. We were overly ambitious, our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began running in the red.
Yeah, so this is the problem I have with
this is where I find it hard to square away with Pete Parsons also buying multiple cars listed in the last 18 months and showing them off to workers who then 2 days later he makes redundant. That is callous. Yeah. That's just callous.
Yeah, like buy the car. I don't begrudge him that, but don't be bragging about it.
But he should be on top of the finances, realise the direction things are going, and maybe not buy the flash card just yet. Maybe leave that money in the business as he tries to secure the business. And definitely don't be showing it off. Do not be inviting your employees to show it off. And then firing them, making them redundant 2 days later.
Yeah. So like this is like the real kind of bone of contention I have with like this entire statement. So he mentions, so 2022, like obviously they had their big expansion or whatever, presumably fueled off the COVID boom, which you know, so they've inflated to massive levels. Now, I think I mentioned this before. Like a lot of my day job is being an e-commerce consultant. So like telling businesses like what's going to happen in the e-commerce space and predict and react to that. Everybody with half a brain cell knew that at the end of lockdowns and the end of the COVID pandemic, this massive inflation that we saw was going to shrink because obviously like people are going out and spending money in different places now. You know, they can go and socialise and things.
If you look at the Fair Law scheme in the UK, the government basically put up a big sum of money, so businesses who were not able to function could fair law their staff rather than get rid of them. The government would pay 80% of the salary, and then people were effectively not allowed to work. They were just off. So that meant there's a lot of people with 80% of their income coming in and nothing to do.
Exactly.
Obviously, gaming's going to see a boom.
Yeah, so
because you also weren't allowed to go out and see people.
Yeah, like the entire like e-commerce was overinflated, entertainment like was overinflated. Well, the in-home entertainment was overinflated. So like for them to have an entire leadership team of relatively competent people, because they've got to some level in their career, right? Like for no one to stop and say, "Is this a golden age which is going to tie off?" Like I find insane, and what I think is more likely is that the average exec stays in a business for a year or two before moving on. They just looked at that and said, "Oh well, yeah, we'll keep growing," and when they don't, it's not my problem because I'll move on to something else. So I think it's been willful ignorance as opposed to incompetence.
I believe Pete Parsons actually been with Bungee for quite a long time.
Oh yeah, but like the rest, like most of like the kind of leadership team will move on, right?
As CEO, I 100% think part of his job is looking at the trends in the gaming industry as a whole and looking into how that would affect Bungee and making sure he secures his workforce, because it's happening throughout the gaming industry. It's not just Bungee. This constant destroying making your workforce redundant and then ramping up as you get new projects. It's just not sustainable. Ultimately, it is people's lives you're fucking around with here. Yeah. And I think sometimes executives get two heads in the spreadsheet and don't think about the human cost of what they're doing. Some of these people may have had to move their families to work for Bungee and now been told their job's gone. So now they're stuck.
Yeah, and the thing is like redundancies are like a fact of life.
Taking responsibility for the human element of your decisions.
Yeah, and like, you know, redundancies are a fact of life. Like sometimes you need, like, I've done it to people, and like the logic I've always had is that I need to trim to save the rest of the people, which is a perfect, like in my mind, I sleep relatively easy doing that. The issue is that they expanded so blindly that a lot of those people that they gave jobs to and got to relocate and whatever didn't have, like, they should never have done that.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like, fair enough, it's nice offering somebody a job, but it's better to not kind of pull the rugs out from under someone's feet, really.
I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure in these studios to get games out at a rate that's so insanely quick that they almost feel forced to overhire to make the demand. And then if a game doesn't perform as well as it should, like as they mentioned, Destiny 2 Lightfall, that's their thing, not me having any comment on the state of Destiny. If that doesn't do well, suddenly the amount of money they were speculating isn't where it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly now the panic fire. I don't necessarily think this is a panic fire, but this could have been handled better. And again, I keep coming back to the fact he was showing off flash cars and stuff. It's like this is where I think as an executive he should taken some responsibility. I don't mind him earning a lot of money, a fucking insane amount of money when things are going well. But if he doesn't have enough money in the bank to sustain his studio with one or two hiccups, maybe he's taking too much money out.
Yeah, potentially.
I mean, this is all speculation. He might have tried really, really hard to do that. But I don't know. It seems to be a trend throughout the gaming industry that there seems to be it feels like mismanagement from the outside.
This is the issue I have. It's a cycle which no one seems interested in fixing because it doesn't impact them.
Well, there's a reason there's a massive unionization movement in the gaming industry, and this is it. Because again, like there's been times when I think it happened with Stadia. I think a week or two before, like what do you call him, Mr. Harrison? I can't remember his first name. Told staff that at Stadia everything was fine. Then a few weeks later, he made them all redundant. He closed down the entire service.
Yeah.
It shouldn't all be entirely on him, but it's telling that sometimes like these executives sometimes will tell people everything's fine when they know it's not.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know. It just really, really does rub me the wrong way.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
It's the fact that no one seems interested in making something better. Yeah,
but I mean, the good news is they are still operating as a studio. They are still, and they are spinning out a new studio. They're going to say we are committed to 2 other major changes that we will deliver, that we believe will support our focus, leveraging Sony's strengths and creating new opportunities for Bungie's talents. First, we're deepening our integration with Sony Entertainment, working to integrate 155 of our roles. So this is where I think a lot of the redundancy is coming from, because Bungie as a company have had their own like corporate structure, and now Sony SIE also have people doing them jobs. SIE has worked tirelessly with us to identify for as many roles for as many of our people as possible, enabling us together to save a great deal of talent that would otherwise. So why I think it's been bad management that they're in a situation where they have to make mass redundancy. It looks like they are leveraging their relationship with Sony to save people as much as possible. Second, we are working with Sony Studios leadership to spin out one of our incubation projects, an action game set in a brand new science fantasy universe, to form a new studio within PlayStation Studios to continue promising development. So they're taking Bungie, obviously with the layoffs aside, we've got this project that's just being incubating, probably been sat on incubating. Let's spin that off into a new studio, get some movement going.
Yeah, I mean,
so
maybe that's the kick of the lead. I don't know, but
yeah,
not a great place to be working at the moment, I don't think.
No, it's my issue with as a general thing across the gaming industry is this means that talent will leave the industry because it's not a secure job.
No, they'll just go to different creative fields, won't they?
Yeah, and if you're sat there at a company, I always think if you're sat there at a company and there's rumours of redundancy and stuff, you're polishing up your CV, you might even be sending it off to some other companies, and then you might lose. I think you can often lose the talent you don't want to lose because they decide to jump ship before the push because they're not sure, they feel insecure in the job. It's not even the money thing, they just feel insecure. So they'll get another offer, they move on, you lose your good talent, and that the quality studio drops.
Yeah, and the top talent have options to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you're always going to lose the cream of the crop, in that situation.
Yeah. Let's move on to some more positive news, because we need to get some positive news in the show.
Yeah, please, Jesus.
Bethesda have trademarked the word Starborn. Could this be a second expansion for Starfield?
I mean, I don't know. It must be, right? Like, why else would they do that? Like, I can't see any of it unless they're just kind of blasting out loads and loads of trademarks for idea conception or whatever.
I'm not sure. It feels like it could be. I mean, the last one was Shattered Space. It could be. I haven't played through Shattered Space, so I don't know narratively where things end off. Starborn is a word that is used throughout the game, though. So it could be they might have been trying to trademark that for a while.
Perhaps, yeah. So I think if I was a betting man, I'd put the money on it being like Starborn and expanding out the that element of the gameplay, really, because you kind of got. It's definitely a spoiler, isn't it? Like you got Starborn or whatever, and then like you got like the abilities that came with that. But then I know it didn't feel like they went into massive depth on some of the. Like, I haven't played the expansion either, by the way.
It's actually not out. That's why.
Okay, well, fair enough. No, like the yeah, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like feels like a natural expansion to do to boost up the end game.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but at the very least, I think it just shows that they're still working on Starfield. I've got a feeling Starfield might be one of them games that we look back on and it eventually becomes the game it was intended to be.
Yeah,
they seem genuinely.
It fell victim to overhype, right?
Yeah, it was never bad. I think it was in an awkward position especially with Redfall. Was it Redfall? Like flopping earlier in the air for Xbox. So then there was a lot of pressure on this to succeed. There's a lot of pressure on this to succeed anyway because it's a Bethesda game. And it did okay. It wasn't the amazing genre-defining game that people wanted it to be. But they have been improving. They've took on community comments and implemented some stuff that people have been saying this should have been here, and they still continue to do that. I feel Shattered Space could be the revival, like Cyberpunk, how Phantom Liberty kind of really reignited the game.
Yeah,
I think that might be what we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that happens. I think the expectation was the game would have legs for, we're talking closer to a decade than closer to like the 5 months it had.
Yeah.
Really. I think that was a disappointment that people had with it. And yeah, I mean, it could go through a Renaissance. I hope it does. Truth be told, I feel like I got through the bulk of the main story and I found out where it was headed, and I didn't really go much deeper than that, to be honest.
I didn't play New Game Plus.
No, me neither.
New Game Plus, and without spoiling the end of the story, it's a game that's intended for you to play New Game Plus on multiple times.
Yeah, and I just didn't feel the pull to do that.
No, me either. There was things about how New Game Plus was handled that I didn't like. In concept, I understood why they did it. It would make sense in terms of in-universe. But it wasn't for me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I didn't play through all the different factions either. I only played through like one major faction and then the main story, and then I felt I was kind of done.
Yeah, I think I was like the I can't remember what the hell the factions were now. This is insane how I can't remember like basic massive chunks of this game. Yeah, like if you ask me to talk about like the Thieves Guild or like like the Stormcloaks, I can do that all day. But I can't talk about like the latest version of Starfield. I
think I would go back to Starfield in the future for a different playthrough. I don't think it'll be when Shattered Space comes out because there's just too much other stuff at the moment. Mm-hmm. But it might be one of them as I'm currently going through and playing Uncharted when there's a gap.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, anyway, let's move on to Mafia. It's coming to Xbox Game Pass. So we have a running joke on this show, Rob, with Mafia, because Mafia was announced to come to Google Stadia. And then it went deadly silent, and Chris had a counter and for pretty much every single podcast for about a year. How many days since Mafia was announced? I think it was almost like 2 years. And then the whole platform got shut down. On. Yeah.
It's like a very specific hill to die on, and Chris has chosen to like, yes, this is my hill. It's a nice hill. So got my seat. I'm ready.
Yeah, it just became like a bit of a recurring joke for us in the podcast. I don't think Chris is planning to stream this. What I've said is, if it comes to Google Stadia, I will force him to stream it.
I mean, if it comes to Google Stadia, then I'll put a very, very special donation into the super chats. That's how confident I am that this is never going to happen.
Yeah, it's just
I will super chat my house. Okay, that's what I'll do.
I mean, it's not confirmed at this point, but a reliable leaker who's got a good track record of getting this right has said the Mafia Definitive Edition and Wargroove 2 are coming to Game Pass around mid-August. So
it makes sense.
It makes sense.
That type of franchise.
I think it's a very mid-tier franchise, personally, from what I've seen. It's absolutely fine if you're really into like that aesthetic, the Mafia aesthetic. I think there's definitely stuff to be enjoyed. Never gripped me at all. It's very much, for me, it's a pass. But it's a nice addition to the library.
Yeah, I played through them in the...
Yeah.
Like, when I had more time, they were good, like, kind of bulk games, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fine.
I kind of look at it as there's some things that it's nice. It's a nice addition to the library.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it provides like bulk, I think, is the...
Yeah. Talking about additions to the library, we have the PlayStation Plus games for August. So these are the downloadable games from Essential tiers upwards. Rough month, Rob?
Feels like it's been a rough year for PlayStation Plus, to be honest. I don't know about you, but like every time I look into like the titles they're putting out, I'm just like...
I've said before, I think they've changed the strategy. They're not putting the good stuff. These are not necessarily bad games, but they're not putting the tentpole stuff onto the Essential tier anymore. They're saving them from Extra and Premium, and usually the mid-month drop that you get for Extra and Premium, that are just catalogue stuff that can come and go, I think tend to be stronger than the claimable games. Because these three games we're going to talk about, you claim them in your library forever as long as you've got PlayStation Plus active. And then if you deactivate PlayStation Plus, come back 2 years later, they're still going to be there.
Yeah.
The other stuff, the mid-month stuff, Extra and Premium, are just rotating catalogue stuff, so they might be in there for a year, 2 years, 10 years, but they could eventually go.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the games we're getting, for context, are Star Wars, like the Skywalker Saga from like Lego Star Wars.
Yep.
Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, which I guess is the latest one.
I don't know. I'm not overly familiar.
I think it is. And then Elder Lily's Quietus of the Night.
Quietus of the Night, yeah.
Quiet, whatever. I'm not saying these are bad titles by any stretch of the imagination, but they're just
underwhelming.
Yeah, right.
I think the Star Wars, actually, for the right person, this could be an amazing month. Because the Star Wars game, the Lego games are like really beloved. I've actually enjoyed them recently playing with my girlfriend. We need to actually go back. We haven't played in a few months. Because we've been playing things like Uncharted and Assassin's Creed, so we've got sidetracked. But I've enjoyed playing them with her. I have zero interest in Five Nights at Freddy's, personally. Yeah. But I know it's huge. It's got a huge fan base. I think Ender Lilies could be the most interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, because... I mean, for all intents and purposes, like I've never played it personally, but that game got some like pretty positive reviews when it came out. The issue is, it's like a 3-year-old game at this point.
Yeah,
and like, you know.
But yeah, for Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Night, it's a PS4 game. Reading from the PlayStation blog, unravel the mysteries of a destroyed kingdom in this dark fantasy 2D action RPG, journey through the sprawling and hauntingly beautiful Land's End, traversing a submerged forest, a sealed-off contaminated underground cavern, and a grand castle. Formidable bosses await that will gladly claim your life, given even the slightest chance. Defeat these powerful foes and release them from their unending curse to recruit them as allies, overcome the challenges before you, and search for the truth with powerful knights at your side. It reminds me a bit of, what's the Ubisoft one? Child of Light, in some ways, in terms of the presentation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is apparently, reading the Steam tagged, Metroidvania, female protagonist, 2D and Souls-like. So I think it's more action than turn-based in terms of its thing, but I think this could be, I think, one of them kind of sleeper hits that it's come out, didn't really get much attention, and where PlayStation Plus might give it a bit of a lift in terms of its fan base.
Yeah, like a nice, decent platform.
Yeah, it looks like there could be something really cool in there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Which one is Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach? Is that the one? I might have played this one on stream, to be honest. We played one of them.
I'm fairly sure it's the newest one. But I don't know how old it is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. Yes, this is the one I've played on stream, and it was better than I thought it would be. I kind of did enjoy it a bit, but then I also had no impetus to go back and play.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be playing any of these games, Rob?
No, like that. This is the thing. Like we talk about a lot where it's like how gaming time is valuable, and that's not time well spent on those games. I don't think.
Yeah, I know Chris was disappointed by the Skywalker saga as well, because it covers it all. Because it covers all 9 episodes, but it doesn't cover them as well as the individual trilogies did.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the pick is probably Ender Lilies. Actually, that's the one I'd be most inclined. If you need to play a game now, that's the one I'd go for because I think it's a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah. I'd pick that one out the 3.
Yeah. Moving on, Rob. PSVR2 has just got a massive price cut for numerous UK retailers, going from its $529.99 price point all the way down to $350. Do you think this makes it a bit more viable?
It's definitely a meaty price cut, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for context in our show notes, it says like 530 down to 350. I was like, maybe Sony just made a massive typo, and then like every kind of developer, like every seller's run with it. So like they've got the 5 and the 3 the wrong way around in like a product feed or something. Like, does it make me want to buy more? Yes. Like I would never pay £530 for a VR headset. Like, which I wasn't. For me to be introduced to VR gaming like that, I wouldn't pay that much to risk not liking it. 350 is somewhere in like the realm of okay, but the issue is I've been so far out of the, I guess, like the cycle and like the ecosystem of VR gaming. I don't know, like if it's enough to pull me back in.
I can summarize what's happened with PSVR2 since its launch. Nothing.
Yeah.
There's been a few bits and stuff that we've covered on the podcast, but nothing that feels like it's picking up any momentum in terms of the software side of it.
Yeah, exactly that. And like if you take like like essentially what needs to happen is like the desirability of a product needs to match the price it's at. And fair enough, like that price has come massively down, so like the desirability gap is like smaller, but it's still not at the point where I'm going to hand over £350.
Yeah. And it's worth always remembering with this conversation that PSVR2 is not backwards compatible.
Yeah.
So games on PSVR 1 will not necessarily run. Some of them have been moved forward. But that, I think, is one of the fatal flaws. If it's backwards compatible, you have the entire PSVR 1 library, plus what's going forward. It makes that $350 price point a bit more achievable, because if you've been having PlayStation Plus for years, during the PSVR 1 era, they kept putting the occasional VR game on PlayStation Plus. So you might, as long as you've been claiming your games, you might have been slowly building up a library of VR games. So $350, you might have been tempted. I think this is not necessarily a positive thing. I don't think this is heading in the right direction. I think because this is UK retailers doing this is not Sony doing this. I think they've got stacks of these boxes in their warehouses that they want shifting because they want to put other stuff there. It's the same with physical media.
For like a year. Yeah, I mean, when did it release? Was it
2023?
Yeah, so like we're getting to the end of 2024, and it's almost a case of we've had this on our shelves for like a year plus, and it's just not moving. Like I'm not willing to like keep paying to store these.
Yeah,
just get them out.
Well, that's it. The thing is, that's why I, despite being an advocate for cloud gaming, and I actually don't mind digital stuff, the reason I have a disc version PlayStation 5 is because physical media, it has to be stored somewhere. So Amazon will have, and other retailers, Currys, Argos Game, whatever, GameStop, if you're in different countries, will have warehouses. Then physical boxes need to be somewhere. And at some point, if they're not selling, they need to shift them. And especially high turnover retailers like an Amazon, they don't want things sat on their shelves for a long time because they need that space for something else. So they get massive discounts quite quickly.
Yeah, exactly that. And also the fact that, like, if you're, say you're the person who's, like, in charge of buying stuff to sell for Currys or something,
Yeah.
and you've bought, that's like, purely on example, like, you've spent £10 million of Curry's money on VR headsets. At a point, you, like, you know, like, you can't pay people and you can't pay your bills in, like, VR headsets. You have to turn that into cash somehow. And fair enough, you might not make the profit like you want to on it, but you just need to get the money back so you can buy other stuff that will sell. So, yeah, they just need to be gone.
You know, going back to that kind of the Bungee conversation, I wonder if PSVR2 is suffering some of the same effects with, like, the gaming industry downturn post-COVID. Because it was it had an artificial boom rather than a natural boom throughout COVID, as we've already discussed. Do you think it might be a case of, with a lot of people go back to work, so the people interested in VR not as interested, and all there's like kind of like the UK dips in and out of recession seemingly every other bloody week at the moment. There's a general sense of wage stagnation for like a decade plus in the UK compared, while cost of living is booming. So people have less disposable income. So even if you're interested in gaming, what was a £530 peripheral with very little bespoke software always felt like, why would I buy that when I don't have as much time on my hands and I don't have as much money in my bank when I could just play traditional console games?
I think a product like this is it'd be one of the first things to suffer when people when people choose to buy something and not buy something. This is a very easy thing to choose not to buy.
Yeah, and the timing that it came out in February 2023 feels like the start. Like, it feels like that's when the post-COVID lags hit. Like, people are back to work. The financial situation, a lot of people lost their jobs throughout COVID. People's financial situations changed. Like,
I mean, even the fact that, like, they're back at work and people are spending more time looking at screens as part of the job, and they just don't want to strap one to their head on a night when they get home. Like,
I still find it funny when you see like the Apple VR stuff. It's like, oh, how do I make a recipe? I'll strap on my headset and so I can have the menu up. It's like, just put it on your fucking phone or tablet.
It's like,
you're not solving a problem here.
Yeah, it's like you put it on your phone, you get your phone covered in flour and all sorts of gunk whilst you're trying to, like, skip ahead in the video. It's fine, it works, right?
Yeah.
You don't need, like, $3,000 worth of headset to make eggs.
What I found funny is when I saw that advert, it's like, that's the best you could come up with. That is the best selling point you could come up with. This is an easy way to do recipes because tablets and phones and you know what? Paper exists.
Yeah.
We've solved this problem, guys.
I mean, I'll forgive them because they can't put, like, VR porn in like advertisements, can they, for an Apple product? So
it's expensive porn. Who's paying for porn?
Well,
let us know in the comments.
You can get free. You can get free VR porn, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Move on, Richie, quickly.
Let's move on.
Get demonetized.
I'm going to stick a little bit with VR, kind of, because Horizon VR devs are still recruiting for big budget PS5 exclusive. So this is Firesprite, who made Horizon Call of the Mountain, but this is rumored to be a non-VR game.
I mean, like, they won my trust when they made Horizon VR. So, like,
Call of the Mountain apparently is a great game, but it seems to be the only one of the few PSVR2 first party titles.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, like, it's good, I guess. Like, it shows maybe they're not entirely void of, you know, investing in this particular, like, product set, but
I think it's kind of telling because we've been predicting like the PSVR 2 is just they're putting it out to pasture kind of thing. And a developer who went, right, you guys are going to make our first party VR2 title, Horizon, one of our biggest IPs, Horizon. They seemingly did a really good job, and now going to make as the Push Square describe it, a standard flat screen experience rather than another VR2 effort. It feels like if there's someone else going to get given the keys to another big Sony first party franchise, it will be these guys.
Yeah. It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's what, like, because the trouble is, like, you have like this team of like evidently like talented people, and maybe this is a case of they don't want to lose the VR talent for a future opportunity, but at the same time they can't justify giving them a actual VR project to work on because of the financials just don't work out for whatever reason. So it's like, do this project, and when the next VR thing comes, or whenever we decide, like, you're there, type of thing. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
I wonder if Sony actually almost predicted that VR2 was going to be a flop, but they was too far in development to just not put it out.
Yeah, it's like they've sunk too much cost into it, maybe.
Yeah, we've sunk too much cost into it. It's basically done. We've already started manufacturing, as we've seen. Like, we've already got a big developer working on a huge title. Let's put it out. It might do better than we hope. And worst case scenario, we can keep supporting it. We can deprioritize it, but keep supporting it. So as opportunity rises to get third party stuff on, we can slowly start building the library, and eventually it might become viable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they're not getting, like, the actual devs are recruiting as opposed to hacking jobs away. I mean, that seems like a positive in this environment, so good for them, I guess.
Yeah, but personally, I have nothing against VR apart from the price point. Yeah, it's the time commitment, the price point for me. I just don't have the time or the money. Oh, it's not how I want to spend my money. But VR is cool as shit. Like,
it's exactly that for me. So I just don't want to spend money. I'll like, if I do have that money in a month, I'll just spend it on something else and not lose sleep about losing VR experience. As
I said on this podcast, like, my life's changed quite a bit this year because got a girlfriend, been together now 6 months. We literally yesterday, after we painted the fence, we booked a holiday. So we're going to Turkey next year for my cousin's wedding. But then we also booked another night away somewhere at the end of this month.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm spending money in different ways now. So it makes it even less like me to buy a VR headset.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. But moving on to Palworld, because this is quite an interesting one for me. The community manager, I'll make sure I get this right, the community manager from Palworld, John Buckley, better known to players as Bucky, has responded to claims that Palworld is a dead game because its daily peak concurrent count is around 60,000 rather than 2 million at launch. Thoughts on there, Rob? I'm reading from Video Games Chronicle, by the way.
All right, so this is like saying that... what's a good example? All right, it's like, okay, so 6 months ago, it's like saying Deadpool is a dead franchise because not many people are watching Deadpool 1 and 2 on a daily basis. That's the level of dumb, like, that comment is. It's like, any form of entertainment, any form of media, apart from a rarefied selection, go through cycles of growth, decline, interest, whatever. Like, it's super, super natural, and, like, good companies expect it to happen. To say that a game that has 60,000 people playing on a daily basis is dead just because it's not at 2 million on the peak of its highest peak is just dumb. Like, it good on, like, Bucky for, like, being relatively restrained in his comments, because, like, I couldn't be a community manager. I'd be calling everyone dumbasses and stuff in that comment.
Community manager, I think, is one of the most underappreciated jobs in video games. We've had talks with, like, back in the we did an episode actually of, it might have been Cloud Quest back then. It might have been Side Quest, an old podcast we used to do with the former community manager of Google Stadia. She guested after she left.
Yeah.
And I think she had permission from Google to do it as well. There was stuff where we couldn't ask her about specifically, but like, because we talked with her behind the scenes quite a bit, because she was basically our community manager. It's a tough job. It's a thankless task as well.
Oh God, yeah. Like,
you're often the person when bad news comes out. You're the person who's getting the It's not the executive getting it in the neck. It's usually you. You're the one who's tasked to deal with the shit, and you get no credit for dealing with the good stuff.
Yeah, like, if a game's amazing, oh, the devs are geniuses, and this is brilliant. The devs are so good. Like, and if it's shit, the community manager's the asshole. It's like, you know, like there's no praise and just shit really. So yeah, I do feel like he's handled this very well.
It's worth remembering as well a few things about Palworld. One, it's still in beta, so it's not effectively had its 1.0 launch yet. It's not on PlayStation, which is literally the biggest part of the console market at the moment. And they've just signed a multimedia agreement with Sony to do some other stuff outside the game. This is not a dead game. Sony are not signing that deal if this game's dead.
No, 100%. And again, 60,000 people is a decent number of people to be playing.
Yeah, for a beta.
Yeah. I mean, we're praising him for his response, but we should probably actually detail what he's said. So I can't remember what context he was talking about this in, but he's essentially argued that the game was never designed to be played, you know, for infinite amount of time or played forever, and like doing it doesn't, like, expecting that doesn't serve players well. Yeah,
so he was talking to the Going Indie YouTube channel. I'll admit I've not watched his interview. I'm not familiar with the channel, but reading again from Video Games Chronicle, according to Bucky, if players continue to play the same title, it will enforce the belief among publishers and developers that more live service games are the way forward, diluting the market. And quoting, I don't think you need to be pushing yourself to play the same game all the time, Buckley said. It's not healthy for us, it's not healthy for developers, it's not healthy for gamers, it's not healthy for the gaming media, and it's not healthy for our industry, because the more we push this kind of narrative, the more very large companies are going to say gamers want more live service, and we're just going to get more of these soulless live service games that come out and get shut down 9 to 12 months later because they're not making enough money, and we lose it all, and we all lose in that case.
Yeah,
the community manager of a games as a service game has said, don't just play games as a service.
Yeah. And like it's a very like mic drop comment, because I don't know what else you can really disagree with there. I mean, for me personally, I love Helldivers.
Yeah.
But I've stopped playing it now because I've put a lot of hours into it, and it's time for me to move on. That doesn't mean that's a bad game, or like game's failed, or the game's dying, or whatever you want to call it. That it's just that cycles move on, right? And like if you expect them to continue forever, it's the way you get like those just nothing titles that come out and then, as he says, dies in like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah. Reading between the lines here, I don't think he's saying like Palworld's in any sort of risk or anything, and that people should move on from Palworld, just to clarify that point. I think he's just saying is like, it's more in comments like, yeah, we have 60,000, we're an indie studio who has 60,000 people every day playing our game. That's fucking fantastic for us. And we actually like seeing people play other games, because the more people spread the money, spread their time into different stuff, the more the publishers who have a lot of money are more willing to take risks. They're not going to silo down into very, very bland, prescribed games, as I've complained about Ubisoft. Like,
right.
Yeah, Palworld came about as it is a creative game. It's like, what happens if we take Pokemon and made it a survival game with building mechanics and give the Pokemon guns and make it online? And it's like, it's a crazy mix, but it worked.
But it's working.
It worked. It's fun. Me and Chris played it on stream. It is a fun game. It's one of them. I think a younger Rob, you would have loved that game.
Oh yeah. Time-wise, it would be great. But again, I don't think we just apply. A lot of the time, it's like this like dumb idea that we have to apply like the success of something like, I don't know, fucking Roblox or Fortnite, and any game that doesn't reach that standard is.
We're looking at you, Square.
Dead.
Square notorious for saying every game they bring out is underperforms.
Yeah, it's like, well, if everything you do underperforms, and you're setting the wrong expectation. And it's just like, it's very kind of, there's no self-awareness to actually see that by the looks of it.
And he finishes by saying, if you're still playing Palworld, we love you. If you're no longer playing Palworld, we still love you, and we hope you'll come back for round 2 when you're ready. Play lots of games, try different genres, and frequently flick through indie libraries to find that hidden gem. this to me is reading as, Palworld are an indie studio that boomed out of nowhere. They seem to be a bit grounded. He seems to be like have his head on his shoulders, like he's not got carried away with the success. He's went, you know what, this is fantastic. Go find the next Palworld. That's basically that's how I'm reading it. It's like Call of Arms gamers go, you know what, you don't just because you've played something else, you can still go back to Fortnite. You can still go back to Call of Duty. You don't have to just be siloed into that one game, which is where I kind of am as a gamer now, where I've long ago moved away from the idea of the game being the hobby. Yeah. And now gaming is the hobby. I like to play different stuff, different genres.
Yeah, it's like saying, it's like the difference between being like a movie fan, or just watching Lord of the Rings again and again. Like, that's the only thing you watch. Like,
no, watch Lord of the Rings again and again.
I mean, you would, but as much as you love it, there comes a point where it's like, okay, it's time to move on.
Yeah, 100%. And talking about moving on, we've got two very quick stories I want to finish up on, because I always like to cover some quirky stuff at the end of the show. So starting with Astro Bot. There is an Astro Bot PS5 DualSense controller coming out, Rob. Have you had a look at it?
I have. I don't think I've had as much look at it as Chris will have had.
Yes, because Chris writes in the doc, Chris really wants this.
I'm surprised Chris hasn't figured out a way to go direct to supplier and try and get one already. Like a prototype copy or something. But it looks nice, right? It's clean. It fits in well with it's Astro Bot's kind of aesthetic.
It's quirky enough. For audio listeners, go Google it, get an image while I'll try and describe it. It's basically almost full white DualSense with light blue accents on the buttons are all, and the sticks are all white with light blue accents on the sacred symbols and on the arrows. But then it's got a metallic dark blue just on the handles, just a bit. So it's not the whole full two-tone thing. And the touchpad is black with Astro Bot's eyes. I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, I agreed.
That's how you do a limited edition controller. It looks better than the standard DualSense, in my opinion.
Yeah, it feels like someone's actually thought about the design as opposed to saying, oh, the black area is now green and the white area is now red or something. It feels like it's being considered in design. So yeah, good job.
I do think I sent him against him as a girlfriend. She's like, I want it. It's I know you would. But yeah, I don't think I'll be buying it because I already have two DualSenses and that's enough for me. And if I only had one and I was looking in the market for a second, I'd do it.
I'm not a collector, but I appreciate it.
Chris will probably buy it, no doubt. Look out for his review of when he comes back from holiday. Or probably when he gets his hands on it, because I think he had about 10 different DualShock 4s, all different colours and stuff.
Yeah. It's a very nice controller.
But it's not only Sony who's making a new controller. Have you seen Xboxes?
I have seen Xboxes.
Translucent Tech Sky Cypher Special Edition.
So here's the thing, okay? So I don't have any brothers, so I feel less qualified to talk about this than you or Chris do. Yeah. So Chris is the older brother by 2 years, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
You're the younger brother by
about 3 years.
3 years. So Chris will have been the one giving this type of controller to his younger brother, and you'll have been the one forced to use this type of controller from your older brother. I know where you're saying with that, because it looks like this is from the 90s when you get the budget brand controller that feels like crap and doesn't work as well. Yeah, Mad Catz controller because it's a dark translucent blue. Yeah,
but this is an actual Xbox controller.
I know, but it looks like...
Yeah, I don't know. I have a soft spot for translucent plastics. I don't know why.
That's because you were always forced to play with them when you were a child, Richie.
Yeah, but I should be traumatized. I should be traumatized by it.
A trauma response when your brother was playing a single player game and you just held the controller.
I do think this looks cool. And again, this is one I might consider.
Really? So I think if Chris is on this episode, he'd have a widely different opinion. I'm not using that piece of shit. It's
I don't know. I think because it's a proper branded Xbox one.
I don't know.
I wish they did multiple colours because that in purple would be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's going back to the N64 special edition ones, where you got the different colours.
I had the orange one.
Yeah, I just had the standard N64. I was always a bit jealous of the orange one. But they had the purple and the light blue. It was like, I think the kind of, Xbox is not the first people to do this recently, but I think there's kind of maybe a bit of resurgence in these transparent plastics.
I think it's like, they say everything goes on like a 30-year cycle, like every trend or whatever. So maybe, maybe this is just coming back around. I
think this is nostalgia fueled a bit, because you're saying this about in a 20, 30-year cycle, the N64 is like 15, 20 years old. So at the height of the transparent plastic boom, we were kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now we're adults with the more disposable income. We can actually buy this shit.
Yeah, true. I've just looked actually at like my old orange N64 on eBay. 150 quid they're going for.
Standard ones can go up to like 100 quid.
Oh, god damn. I'm annoyed I threw it out now.
They're really sought after, actually. N64's a good working one, especially if you've got like the additional pack. But
god damn.
Yeah.
Regardless, I will not be touching the clear plastic things, because
even if you came around my house and I handed it to
second rate game. No, second rate gamers use translucent controllers.
Yes. Which is why I might buy one.
I was a player one king all the time, because I never had to share with my my sister, who was
you have two sisters, one significantly older and one significantly younger.
Yeah,
so it's like there's a gap. But that's all we have time.
One all the time.
Yeah, that's all we have time for the news. We'd like to round the show out with this day in gaming history. So starting on August the 4th, Rob, is there anything jumping out to you? We can go backwards and forwards for a few days if you want.
For me, the biggest thing is Bubble Bobble.
Bubble
Bobble. Like, is this the original? This looks like the original one. So do you know, like the shoot balls at like the thing, and like you get 3 matching, and then it drops down. Like,
yeah, it probably is, because this is 38 years ago in the arcade.
Yes, so that'd be the original. And I remember like my parents were useless at technology, like absolutely awful. And I remember the only game my mum ever played and ever could like kind of stick with was Beehive Bedlam on Sky.
The Sky with the xylophone, yeah.
Which was like the rip-off of Bubble Bobble. And that's the, like, yeah.
That's
that's why I remember that.
Yeah.
So that's why that jumped out.
For me, going back to the 3rd of August, Doom 3 came out on the PC. So I think it's always worth giving that a shout out. Fall Guys.
Warriors 2.
That's... Yeah, is that one of the ones you played?
That was what... So, when I got my PlayStation 2... Yeah, PlayStation 2 for Christmas, I got a bundle with like 4 games, and there was Red Faction, Dynasty Warriors 2, some racing game, and something else I can't remember. But I remember like Dynasty Warriors 2 being the one that like it was like one of like the lower tier of the bundle, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Like Red Faction was like the highlight or something. And I remember like sinking so many more hours into Dynasty Warriors 2 over that Christmas than I did any of the other games. I think I was a bit too young for Red Faction, because I had some like heavy themes of exploitation and rebellion in it, which maybe I wasn't ready for as a 10-year-old.
4 years ago on this day, Fall Guys came to PC. That to me is such a COVID game.
Oh yeah.
Fall Guys, Animal Crossing, these were just defined COVID. Among Us.
Yeah, because like the streaming crowd just kind of like sustained it massively, didn't it?
Because they were easy to get into, just straight up no nonsense fun. So people who were not naturally gamers could just jump in and play and enjoy it. And because, as I said earlier in the show, people had a lot more time on their hands.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. Like August was a day when they stopped like putting out. Well, sorry, August is a month is when like they don't put out many new games, because everyone's on holiday, so like there's no money to spend. You can tell, like, even going back through the years.
You can. But that being said, Yoshi's Island 2 came out. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island came out on the 5th, I believe.
Okay, that's something, I guess.
Which is a huge game, like 29 years ago to the Super Nintendo.
Do you remember Dead Rising for the Xbox 360? There's
I
like
know
the
of it, I
zombie in the
never played
mall.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. That game is now 18 years old.
Well, there you go. And that is all we have time for this show. If you've liked the video, make sure you make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all fantastic content. If you want to join the conversation even further and let people know why Rob is wrong about transparent controllers, head to the link in the description below where you can find out Discord. And with that, my name's been Richie.
I've been Rob, and I'm very scared of all you player twos coming to bash me, so scared.
GG everyone, goodbye.
Bye bye.